Hello, I'm Kaylee Rose with Lunation Mentoring, and welcome to day 3 of the 21-day energetic boundaries reset and reclamation. We're doing this reset and reclamation around our boundaries, especially our energetic boundaries, in preparation for the eclipse portal that will be opening up mid-October and running for about 2 weeks. So let's go ahead and dive into today's content. I'm getting stuff pulled up. Just one moment. Okay, so this is the overview of the types of boundaries we're going to be covering during this reset and reclamation. So just to review, we were focusing on the physical body more externally the past few days. Today, we're going to go talk a little bit about the internal physical body. And we're covering, as I mentioned in the introduction video, we're covering the physical body because the physical body can teach us so very much about boundaries and including selective boundaries, boundaries that let certain things in and keep certain things out. Excuse me, I'm still getting over being sick, so my voice is attempting to kind of go away. But hopefully we'll be able to make it through this without any issue. So day 3, internal physical body. Tomorrow we're going to touch on the physical body a little bit more, and then we're going to start shifting a little bit more into less tangible boundaries that are energetic boundaries, subtle energetic boundaries. Today we're doing that a little bit since we can't touch in quite the same way our internal body as we can our external physical body. So let me pull up the slide for today. Day 3, internal physical body. So we're going to talk about our internal landscape a little bit. What I mean by internal landscape is just that, the landscape inside our body. The forms, the textures, the tissues, the beings that exist within our internal physical body. Our body is made up of so much bacteria and so much fungi and so many things that are not actually us. And some of those things are detrimental. They cause problems. They're parasitic. They they cause issues. But many of those things are incredibly valuable, and we would actually die without them. There are bacteria that exist within us and on us that if we did not have, we wouldn't be able to survive. Even the mitochondria, if you remember from maybe high school science classes, biology classes, the mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell. It's theorized that those originally were beings that existed outside of human beings and eventually came into such a symbiotic relationship with human beings that now they function as energy producers for us, essentially, producing ATP, adenosine triphosphate, if you're a little bit of a science nerd like I am. And that's just a theory, but it does illustrate this idea that we do not go it alone, even physically in our own bodies. We have support of things besides us, of beings that have varying degrees of intelligence. If you hear a baby cooing in the background, it's all good. That's my baby. She's hanging out while I record this. So our internal landscape is made up of more than just us. And we can, with intention and with asking for support from source, from the divine, whatever you may call your higher power. I call my higher power God. You're welcome to call your higher power whatever makes sense to you. whether that be universe or something else entirely. But that doesn't, whatever you call your higher power, doesn't negate the reality that we can call upon divine assistance in maintaining boundaries within our body that support our highest good. And let's see. Yes, encapsulation. So a few years ago, probably 5 or so now, it came to my attention that I had, and likely still have, certain pathogens in my blood that were wreaking havoc on my health. And I had a few options. I could go through a lot of different, not procedures, but treatments, through a lot of different treatments that would burst the biofilm, so the protective covering on these groupings of these bacteria, that would burst the biofilm and kill whatever was in there and hopefully clean up whatever waste was caused by the death of all of those bacteria. And that was the idea behind these treatments. But these treatments, in the process of clearing up this pathogen, could actually, when I did a little bit more research, they had the potential to make me worse, significantly worse. And that I may or may not, with even further and more extensive help, be able to get better after that. And so I researched some alternatives. There was another alternative that was a little bit more focused on strengthening the body and strengthening the body's natural protective mechanisms to the point that your body no longer was bothered by the pathogens and could potentially rid the pathogens on its own, or could allow the pathogens to exist within their biofilms without causing detriment to you, to me. And either direction I could have gone would have been really expensive, thousands of dollars that we didn't have at the time, and that insurance largely was not going to cover. And so I went with some treatments for a little while and definitely began to see a decline in my well-being, just like could potentially happen as biofilms began to be disrupted and toxins and waste products from these pathogens were starting to be introduced more fully into my body. And between the cost money-wise and the potential cost health-wise, I ultimately decided to stop those treatments. And I felt pretty good in that decision. I felt like it was in alignment with what I was directed to do by my higher power. It felt in alignment with what my body was wanting. It felt in alignment with what my intuition was telling me. But I still was struggling with the original symptoms of having these pathogens present in my body. And the option to go through all these different things to strengthen my body to the point that perhaps these pathogens wouldn't bother me was also outside the scope of my financial capabilities at the time. And so I took this issue to God and to my intuition. And at the time, I was just beginning to learn about subtle energetics, just beginning to learn about how to more fully harness my own intuition beyond just what was naturally coming to me intuitively. And so it was a really fascinating experience. Having these conversations with God, having these explorations with my intuition, and receiving this guidance to take the things I'd already been learning about setting boundaries energetically and apply them to my own body. And what I learned to call this process was encapsulation. And so essentially what I was led to do was to, when I go through a grounding process or yeah, essentially a grounding process for my physical body and for my spirit, I would also go through this process of creating, essentially encapsulating all these pathogens and their biofilms in my body, encapsulating them in light from source, so that I did not have to fuel that light. And essentially had a conversation with these pathogens where I was like, okay, you're in my body and there's not much I can do about that right now. I have no ill will towards you anymore. I just want to be able to live as healthily as possible. And I recognize that you do too. So we're going to put these boundaries in place where you can exist within your biofilm, and you can exist to the extent that you don't do harm to me. But if you begin to do harm to me, you can't get outside of this encapsulation of light, and you'll die. And I won't be bothered by that, because you will be, and all of your toxins that get released when you die are encapsulated in this light. You exist within me as if you did not exist within me. It was like there were ecosystems inside of me that were on another plane of existence, doing this with light, with setting the intention and having the backing of source, of God, to do this so that I could continue to function and to function well. And what I invite you to consider today is, if there is something that exists within your body that is not you and is doing you harm, consider, if you're a praying person, praying. If you're not a praying person, at least pondering and connecting with your own intuition, how you might be able to set some boundaries and agreements in place, guided by your higher power, that will keep you more safe and more healthy, and that will be for your highest good. And those agreements don't have to look like the agreements that I made and the boundaries that I set for my body, that are still in place and that I still periodically put in place. It used to be a daily process. Now it's much less frequent that I go through that process of encapsulating in light those pathogens and other pathogens that might be causing issues for my body. But doing this video is a reminder to me that, hey, like, there are some things that have been happening that maybe you should consider doing that more frequently. So thank you for being here, and for this opportunity to remind myself as well that I have this tool at my disposal. So I invite you today to ponder, and even over the course of several days, to ponder, like, what boundaries, what divinely sanctioned boundaries could I, with my intuition and with the blessing of source, place in my internal body to better support my health and well-being, to support my highest good, and to follow whatever guidance and intuition you receive, and to communicate with your body, to actually, let's take a moment right now, and we're going to practice this communicating with your body. I want you to, if you feel comfortable, to go ahead and take a few deep breaths. I still can't breathe through my nose very well from being sick, so I'm going to breathe through my mouth. If you can breathe through your nose, breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. If not, then just use your mouth. But allow your awareness to sink into your body. Maybe gently sway. Allow that rocking motion to become somewhat hypnotic, inviting you deeper and deeper into your body. Set the intention, just with thought, that you will be able to communicate with your body clearly, and with your source, with your higher power clearly. Continue rocking and breathing. And when you're ready, If your eyes are closed, go ahead and gently flutter them open. And now I'd invite you to find something to write on and something to write with. And go ahead. And if you're watching this replay, you can pause. If you're watching this live, you can just go ahead and do this quickly, or you can save this for after the video. But go ahead and start writing on your paper, dear body, if you want to start communicating to your body, or dear God, or dear source, or dear universe, dear higher power, if you want to start by communicating with your higher power. This is an alternative to just doing it all in your head. And then start writing. Write whatever comes to mind, or be a little more intentional in what you write, expressing what kinds of boundaries you'd like to have, what kinds of results you'd like to have with your body, your internal body. And then, pardon my yawn, as things are shifting for me on this end. Hopefully they are for you. When you're done writing that, I want you to go ahead and cross one hand over your face like this. Make sure your hand goes across your body. Take the other hand, cross it over this way. You can kind of hug yourself a little bit like this to kind of reset things a little bit. And then flip your paper over or write on a new paper and invite communication from either your body or source, whichever one you addressed your letter to. Write dear and then your name. And then listen and write whatever comes as that response from your source or from your body. And once you have that written, you can read through what you wrote and what you received, and then feel into that. Take it to God in prayer, in pondering, take it to your own inner wisdom to see what in all of that is for you right here and now, and to move forward with. So it's a fun little experiment that I was not planning on incorporating into today's video, but it can be incredibly powerful. Now, let's move on to the therapeutic art exercise. We did this yesterday, the me and not me, where you, I'm not sure where mine went. Oh, here it is. Got a lot of things on my desk now. This is what I ended up drawing yesterday. But we started with any shape that came to mind, and then drew within it and drew without it as a physical representation of our current state of boundaries, of subtle energetic boundaries. So today we're going to do a little bit of a variation on that, where you're going to consciously choose into what you put on this paper to instruct your unconscious, your subconscious, on shifting boundaries, shifting subtle energetic boundaries to be a better match for what you want, a better match for what's for your highest good. So if you had things coming into your shape that you didn't want, or things coming out of your shape that you didn't want, today is a day to begin the process of shifting that without having to know exactly what the boundary was or boundaries were that are potentially not how you want them to be. Excuse me. So I invite you to, once again, take a few deep breaths. You can gently massage your own face, gently tap along your collarbones, your shoulders. You can gently tap along your head. This is not so much EFT tapping as you're waking your body back up and crossing your midline to get more of your brain involved in this process and more of your body involved in this process. And now go ahead and draw a shape. And that shape is going to represent you and your boundaries. It can be a circle, it can be a shape that doesn't even have a name. My pen is dying. I'm getting a new one. It can be a square, it can be anything. Go ahead and take a moment to just ponder and feel into what sort of boundary to draw right now. And while this is a more conscious process than the one we went through yesterday, there's still a lot of unconscious things going on. You don't have to know exactly how permeable certain boundaries need to be. You just need to be present and have that conscious intention of reframing your boundaries in a way that is for your highest good, and that you will be guided by your higher power and by the wisdom of your own body and the wisdom of your own soul in this process. So go ahead and draw whatever comes to you. This pen is dying too. Good thing I have another one. Go ahead and draw that shape with whatever outline comes to you as is perfect for you right now, for your subtle energetic boundaries, as a symbolic representation of those boundaries. You don't have to know consciously what you're drawing represents, though it may come to your awareness as you draw. Just pondering as you draw what sorts of boundaries does your soul want? How would it feel to have boundaries that are perfectly supportive of you and your well-being, that are perfectly supportive of the highest good of you and all those you come into contact with? And if you feel ready to move on from the boundary of your shape, the outline of your shape, you can begin to draw inside of your shape, keeping whatever is inside of your shape inside the shape. Intentionally, consciously keeping everything inside that shape that you made. And if at some point this begins to feel hard or heavy, or you start feeling kind of anxious, or the sense of pushing the experience, I invite you to stand up and just shake out your arms, shake out your legs, blow air out forcefully, but not painfully, just with sound. And then, if it feels right, continue drawing. What you're drawing inside your shape does not have to make sense. And it does not have to fit into any standard of aesthetics or beauty or function as far as its appearance goes. You're allowing whatever needs to come forward to come forward just by willing it so. You can continue drawing for about 1 more minute. And if your drawing already feels finished, just go ahead and breathe deeply. And look at what you've drawn. Inviting yourself simply to be curious and open rather than make judgments about what you've drawn. Okay. So this is what I drew. It looks an awful lot like drawings of a cell that I remember doing in middle school and high school. That was not my intention, but that is what came forward. Whatever you drew does not have to look anything like what I drew. I invite you to hang on to this piece of paper for the next, let's see, what day are we on? The next couple of weeks as we do this energetic boundaries reset and reclamation. You could post it somewhere that you'll see it. You can add to it as you feel, or if you feel inclined to, as we go throughout this process. You have imbued this with your intention for your boundaries, for this reset and reclamation. You don't have to know what any of it means. It's going to come forward as you shift, as you go through the exercises of these days, as you pray and ponder, as you live out life, you will begin to notice little things here and there shifting, little things here and there coming into your awareness. I'm so, so excited to see what comes of this for you and what comes of this for me. That's day 3. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow for day 4. You will be able to find all of these videos in the Lunation Facebook group, Lunation, Lunar Living, and Feminine Archetypes with Kaylee Rose. You'll also be able to find them on the Lunation YouTube channel. And if you go to my website, ourlunation.com, ourlunation.com, you'll be able to find a product in there, a digital product, where you can purchase access to 2 supplemental group subtle energetic sessions to make this reset and reclamation process even more effective, even deeper. And these videos will also be there. So that's all I have for you today. I wish you the best of luck, the best, and your highest good as you move through this process. If technology will cooperate with me, I will end this video. There we go.